They told me the dead can't talk. But as I leaned over the cold body on the table, I swear I heard him whisper my name. The car lurched left around the mountain bend, and Amy instinctively gripped the handle above her head. Tyler snorted from the driver's seat. He had been trying to impress Lila, who was sitting in the back. Matthew leaned over from the back seat. Dude, lay off the clutch. You're going to burn it out if you keep riding it down the hill. Lila groaned and sank into her chair. Ugh, I'm bored. She kicked the seat in front of her. Why couldn't we do something interesting like go to summer festival? Amy laughed. Because nobody else wants to go to some shitty music festival. Tyler switched on the radio. The speakers blared static. Fuck. Amy grabbed the volume knob and spun it left, turning the noise down. Sorry. Tyler pressed some buttons on the dashboard. After switching through several stations of different types of static, they landed on something that resembled speaking. Oh, I think we have a winner. He pressed a few more buttons, and the speakers began playing what sounded like a religious radio station. And the Lord provides for those who lose their way, brings them home to the fold. Yes, brings them to the family that waits. Nope, Matt said, lurching across the middle of the car and switching the radio off. No religious nightmares for me, thanks. What are those things on the side of the road? Lila pointed out the window at some wooden sticks, painted red, sticking out of the ground. I keep seeing them randomly. Are they too like, I don't know, stop you from going off the road, or something? How would that stop you from going off the road? Matt laughed. Hey, don't laugh, bro, you don't know what it's for either, Tyler grumbled. Probably to mark where roadkill was, Amy said, her face pressed against the window. She noticed 6 more painted sticks on her side of the road, all in a line. It is pretty fucking creepy though. She snorted. Do you even know where we're going? Matt asked, leaning his head back against the headrest and closing his eyes. Of course I do, bro. I looked at the map like 60 times before we left. It's like, keep following this road until a roundabout, then left, and then like, ... Yeah, from there. After another half hour of driving, Tyler groaned loudly. Ah shit, he slammed his hand against the steering wheel. We're almost out of fucking gas. Man, Amy lurched awake. She hadn't even realized she'd fallen asleep. Wait, what? I thought we filled up like an hour ago. That was more like 3 hours ago, Lila said, picking at her nails. Fucking hell. Tyler, haven't you been paying attention? Matt called from the back seat. I have, I just thought it was like ... Tyler's voice trailed off. Look, Amy's eyes widened, and she pointed at a sign coming up. GAS, 2 miles was written in red spray paint on a wooden fence post leaning against a tree. Hey, maybe that religious stuff, like, helped us or something. Lila smirked. Up ahead, they saw a dingy old gas station that looked like it had been neglected for decades. The awning was drooping on one side, and the sides of the building were overgrown with tangled trees and tall grass. The windows were covered in grime, and aggressive weeds sprouted from the concrete between the gas pumps. Oh, fucking great, it's abandoned. Tyler slammed his hand against the wheel, causing the car to lurch slightly. Jesus, man, fucking stop doing that, Matt yelled. Amy looked up at the dark sky. The sun had started to set, and the last rays of light were abandoning them over the hills. Great, just fucking great. We're out of gas, and it's almost fucking nighttime. Lila leaned forward. Hey guys, when's the last time we've seen a car? I don't think I've seen one pass in hours. Matt groaned and rubbed his face with his hands. Look, we'll pull over and maybe like. There's still fuel in the pumps, Tyler said, a hint of nervousness creeping into his voice. They pulled into the station, and the car shuddered over the sharp change of terrain. Tyler stopped next to a pump and looked at the others before climbing out. Amy and Matt climbed out next, groaning and stretching almost in unison. Matt leaned down and poked his head into the car. Are you coming out? Lila looked around nervously before opening the door and shuffling out. No dice. Tyler pulled the trigger of the gas pump several times to no avail. That's just great. Amy kicked a rock, and it bounced off the old building. Should we see if there's a phone inside or something? Lila asked, creeping closer to Tyler. Amy was already at the window. She wiped a thick layer of dust and dirt off with her jacket sleeve and pressed her forehead against the glass, struggling to see inside. Matt walked over and tried the door, but it was securely chained from the inside with a padlock. Tyler and Lila wandered over, and Tyler picked up a chunk of concrete he'd found. Whoa, what the fuck are you doing? Amy gasped. I'm gonna break the window so we can climb in. He shrugged. What if it's not abandoned? Lila said quietly. They all turned and stared at her. Yeah, I mean sorry. She looked at the ground. Tyler threw the chunk of concrete. It shattered the window, flew halfway inside, and smashed into a shelf, causing it to crash to the ground. The noise echoed around them, and a few nearby birds flew off. See, easy peasy, Tyler said, beaming as he climbed through the broken window. They poked their heads inside, watching Tyler walk into the darkness, using his phone as a flashlight. Do you see a phone? Lila called out. No answer. Tyler, Amy yelled into the building. Still nothing. Fucking hell, Matt said, climbing into the building. If he's been murdered, I swear to God. Amy looked at Lila. I'm going in too. Are you coming? Lila rubbed her arms nervously. No, like I think I'll wait here, in case someone comes past and they can, like you know, help us. Amy stared at her for a second, then shrugged and climbed in after Matt. Matt pulled out his phone and turned on his flashlight, scanning the room. Tyler, he called out shakily. Tyler, stop fucking around and come out. Amy called past him. They walked further in, stepping over fallen shelving. The roof had caved in, leaving a gaping hole in the ceiling. Amy walked into the back of Matt while staring up at the sky through the hole. Oh, sorry, she apologized, looking back down and stopping. Matt was staring at something she couldn't see. Tyler, is that you? Matt called out into the darkness, raising his flashlight. Tyler was standing in the doorway of what looked like some kind of storage room. He wasn't moving, just standing with his back to them. Dude, what the fuck? Amy whispered. Matt approached slowly, extending his arm and putting his hand on Tyler's shoulder. Hey Tyler. Tyler whipped around in a blur, his voice cutting through the air like a whip. I'm going to kill you. Holy fuck. Matt fell backward into Amy, crashing on top of her. Tyler burst out laughing, doubling over. You're such a fucking dickhead. Amy screamed. Matt jumped up and shoved Tyler, who was still laughing. Your fucking face. Tyler wheezed from laughing so hard. Fucking golden. Are you okay? Matt said, helping Amy to her feet. Yeah, I'm okay. She brushed dirt off herself. Just ... What the fuck? You know, there's actually some cool shit back here. Ah, guys. There's someone coming. Lila called from the window. They turned and ran to the window. A pair of headlights was slowly getting bigger. An old beat-up truck pulled into the service station behind Tyler's car. One by one, they jumped out of the window and watched as a large man, possibly in his late 40s, with a thick gray beard and wearing a filthy old trucker's hat, stepped out. Hiya, I noticed your car parked here and thought that maybe y'all need some help. His accent was thick and noticeably southern. He glanced behind them and gave a cartoonish wince. Y'all did a number on that there poor window. He walked toward them slowly. You know, I used to know the fella who ran this station. Nice guy, didn't sit right with me what they did to him. Amy looked at Matt, who looked at Tyler. Do you have gas? And my car is empty. The man stopped in front of them and sighed, long and drawn out. Sheesh, well, I didn't think to bring any with me, considering I didn't know I was gonna stumble onto y'all. He extended a grubby hand to Tyler. My name is Abraham. It's a pleasure to meet y'all. Tyler shook his hand. Abraham held it long and hard. Can you drive us back to the city? Matt piped up from behind Tyler. Gosh, well, the city is about a couple hours, ... He pointed in a direction, then spun around and put his hand on his head. I'm afraid I can't drive that far out. I gots to get home to the wife and kids. You know how it is. He looked at them for a second. But I guess I can't leave a couple of kids out here in the cold, after dark. No good can come from that. Oh no, the Lord will bless those who look after those in need. Amy gulped. Y'all can jump in the back. I got some game in there, so try not to disturb the tarp. Tyler looked at Lila, then at the other two. Matt shrugged, and Abraham put his arm around Tyler, ushering him to the passenger seat of the truck. They looked at each other nervously before shuffling behind him. Amy grabbed Matt's arm. Are we seriously going to this guy's house? She whispered. What choice do we have? He yanked his arm free. The three of them climbed into the back of the truck, stepping cautiously around the big lump in the middle, covered by the tarp. The truck rumbled to life, and Amy could see Abraham slap Tyler on the back and laugh through the rear window. After about 15 minutes of driving, the truck pulled off down a dirt road, through a winding path that seemed to get narrower and narrower, before stopping at an old metal gate. Abraham jumped out and yanked the gate open, dragging it until it was wide enough to fit the truck through. He jumped back in and drove through, then got back out and closed it. As he walked around the back of the truck, he slapped the side of it. We gonna be eating good tonight. The Lord has provided us with a meal. Then he got back in the truck. Lila shot Amy a look. She mouthed, what the fuck? Amy nodded. The truck drove up the path some more before pulling over next to an old wooden house. Its faded white paint peeled in strange places. A tin roof, mottled with rust, topped the structure. A narrow porch wrapped around the front, its floorboards warped with age. The entire house leaned slightly. A dim golden hue emanated from the windows. Abraham jumped out and walked around to the back of the truck. She's a beauty, ain't she? Belonged to my Mima and her grandpa before her. He took off his cap and ran a hand over his bald head. Tyler jumped out and stood on the other side of the truck. Amy and Lila looked at Matthew before Abraham opened the back of the truck and ushered them to get out. He led them up the steps to the house, the wooden floorboards feeling like they would snap at any moment. He opened the old wooden door, having to push it slightly as it got stuck halfway open. Honey, I'm home. He called out into the darkness. They followed behind him cautiously. Amy winced. The entire house smelled like rotting meat. Matt caught her gaze and nodded, scrunching his face. Where's your family? Tyler asked cautiously. Abraham stopped and turned around. My what? Wire. Abraham slapped him on the shoulder. Ah, I'm only screwing with ya. They're upstairs. Amy released the breath that had caught in her throat. He led them into a small kitchen. The wooden floor was covered in dark red stains. The only light came from an old oil lantern hanging on a nail in the corner. He pointed to an old, worn couch in the corner of another room. Go make yourselves at home. I'm gonna grab our supper out of the truck. He walked back out the front door, leaving them standing in the middle of the living room alone. We need to get the fuck out of here. Matt hissed. And go where? Tyler argued back. We're fucking stuck here. Footsteps creaked overhead, heavy and slow. What the fuck? Amy mouthed. Guys, I'm like freaking out. Lila spoke up. Maybe he's just a little quirky. Tyler shrugged, but Amy could see he was just as terrified. Who's a little quirky? Abraham dropped a huge elk onto the kitchen table. We're just… I'm fucking with ya. Abraham chortled. I know my house looks a little strange. What with all the water damage? He took out a massive, rusted cleaver. Amy instinctively put her hand out in front of Lila. I know you folks are probably used to your fancy gadgets and nice floors and such. He buried the cleaver into the elk's neck, severing it in one clean motion. But trust me, it'll be like one of those digital detoxes. He wiped his now bloodied hands on his jeans. Big boy, come help me with this game here. He gestured for Tyler to come over. The ceiling groaned loudly. They all looked up. Abraham's eyes narrowed slightly. Y'all hang here. I'll be right back. He left the kitchen and ascended the stairs. Matt rushed over to the kitchen wall and took a knife off it, hiding it in the back of his jeans. Thump, something heavy hit the floor upstairs. Matt rushed back into place as Abraham came back down the stairs. Sorry about that, y'all, just the old ball and chai. He paused, staring at the wall. That's strange. One of my good knives seems to be missing. Amy shot Matt a worried look. Abraham walked over to the knife rack and traced his finger across the empty space where the knife had been. Shit, I'm losing my mind. Shit, I'm losing my mind. Anyway, he tossed the cleaver to Tyler, who barely caught it without cutting himself. I assume you know how to gut an elk. Boy, Tyler stood there awkwardly, holding the cleaver. You sickened, be that hard. He laughed nervously. All right, here, let me show you. Abraham grabbed Tyler's arm with one hand and held the elk with the other. He raised Tyler's hand over the midsection of the elk. You want to start right? He licked his lips. Here. Abraham guided Tyler's hand, almost forcefully, along the elk's skin, cutting into it. Lila turned away, scrunching her face. Amy gagged and winced. Matt stood watching, eyes wide, unable to move. Are your family going to join us for dinner? Matt interrupted. Abraham stopped and looked over at Matt. Why, of course, child. They need to eat, don't they? He smiled, revealing yellow, rotting teeth. He raised his chin to the ceiling and yelled, Boys. The sound of multiple footsteps could be heard descending the stairs quickly, and in the doorway, two young boys emerged. They were both short and skinny, with wild eyes and yellow teeth. Abraham walked over to one of the boys and stood behind him, putting one hand on the boy's shoulder. This is Isaiah. Then he put his other hand on the other boy's shoulder. And this is Elijah. Nice to meet you, Matt said, nervousness creeping through his voice. They all stood there for a second in complete silence, staring at each other. Well, let my boys show y'all where you'll be sleeping tonight. The two boys spun around and ran back up the stairs. Well, go on then. Abraham gestured for them to follow the boys. I'll be down here preparing supper for y'all. The group looked at each other nervously before Tyler took the lead and cautiously walked up the stairs. The stairs creaked and groaned softly as they ascended. The rotting smell got worse the further up they went, until they were in a small hallway with walls covered in peeling yellow wallpaper decorated with little painted flowers. Elijah and Isaiah were standing in a doorway at the end of the hallway. Nervously, they all followed the boys, walking past them into the small bedroom. Matt felt something touch his shirt and spun around. Isaiah was holding the knife he'd taken from the wall. You're not supposed to have this. It belongs to PA. Matt's heart dropped. Amy turned and saw Isaiah running his fingers along the blade. Then Elijah whispered something in Isaiah's ear, and they both giggled and ran down the hallway. Dude, we're so fucked, Matt said finally. Amy turned and saw Tyler trying to open the window. It squeaked loudly, and they could hear heavy footsteps on the stairs. Quick, Amy gasped, shoving the window back down and pulling Tyler away from it. Abraham appeared in the hallway. His entire midsection was soaked in animal blood. Supper is ready. Folks, if y'all want to follow me down. The group looked at each other before nervously following him. A groaning noise came from the door at the other end of the hallway. What was that? Lila said quietly. Abraham stopped. Now y'all just ignore that. My wife has been under the weather lately. He turned and looked at the group. Never, and I mean never, go into that room. Do y'all understand me? Amy felt her blood run cold. Why yes sir. Abraham's lips peeled back into a toothy grin. Good. They followed him down to the kitchen, where the table was set with tin plates, each filled with freshly cooked meat. Amy noticed the knife on the wall was still missing. She shot a glare at Matt, who noticed the same thing. He shrugged nervously. They all sat down, and Tyler went to start eating before Abraham slammed his hand down on the table. Everyone except for the two young boys jumped. Tyler's face went white. Don't tell me y'all are gonna start eating without saying grace. Oh, sorry, sir. Tyler stammered. Isaiah, please lead us in grace. Isaiah put his head down, and the rest of them followed. Lord, we thank you for delivering these lost lambs to our door. We thank you for the meat on our table and the blood that was spilled to provide it. We pray that all who eat at this table become part of your great plan. Amen. They all raised their heads and nervously waited for Abraham to give the go-ahead. The meat was incredible. The group wolfed it down, not realizing how hungry they had been. Whatever way Abraham had cooked the meat, it was delicious. They all finished their meals quickly, and Elijah piped up. Thank you, Pa. May Isaiah and I go pray before bed. Abraham chuckled and waved his hand. The two boys leaped up and sprinted up the stairs. Thank you, sir, for your hospitality tonight, Amy said, trying on a smile. Abraham lowered his head, smiled, and spread out his palms. Y'all are my gracious guests. He stood and rubbed his stomach. Well, it's about time for me to hit the head. Y'all should probably head to bed. The group exchanged glances. Where is the bathroom? Lila asked. Abraham scratched his beard. It's outside. We don't have any of that fancy indoor plumbing. He licked his teeth and grinned. I could show you if you like. No, sir. I was just wondering. ... Double quotes. Abraham's smile wavered. Bedtime, it is. Then, he walked behind them, ushering them into the bedroom. Amy glanced back at the room across the hallway with the strange noises. Her stomach felt like it was in knots. Tyler and Lila were sharing a bed, while Amy and Matt lay on the hardwood floor. Abraham stood in the doorway for a few seconds before closing the door and walking back down the hallway. We need to go now, Tyler whispered. Matt and Amy quietly stood as Tyler tried prying the window open. What the fuck? Tyler whispered. What's wrong? Amy replied, trying to look over Tyler's shoulder. The fucking window is nailed shut. He gasped, trying to keep his voice down. Ah shit. Matt cursed. We need to go out the front door. What if we go one by one? Like we're all going to the toilet. ... Lila whispered very quietly. Amy looked around nervously. I'll go first. Then after 5 minutes, someone else come along as well. Until we're all out. Then what? Matt whispered. We don't have any way of getting out of here. We don't have a car. Don't worry about that, Tyler said, and a faint jingling noise could be heard. I took the keys off him when he was upstairs. Oh my God, you are incredible. Amy breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, I'll go first. Then Lila, then Matt, and then you, Tyler. They all agreed, and Tyler handed the keys to Amy. Slowly, Amy pulled the door open and crept down the hallway. She could see a dim orange light coming from underneath the door down the hall. She crept along, making sure not to make any noise, walking down the old staircase before stopping at the front door. She remembered how it squeaked loudly when it opened, so she very slowly and carefully opened it just enough to squeeze out before closing it. Just enough for the next person to open it quietly. She tiptoed down the wooden steps and toward the truck before crouching next to it. The air was bitterly cold, and the wind made it even colder. After a few minutes, she saw a small figure emerge from the house in the darkness. Lila crept up next to her, shivering. Okay, so Matt will be next, and then Tyler, Amy whispered, her breath coming out in white puffs. She didn't know if it was the cold or maybe the anxiety, but Amy's stomach started to hurt. She put her hand on it and winced. Your stomach hurts too, Lila whispered, rubbing her own stomach. Yeah. Amy paused as her stomach tightened. A couple of minutes later, Matt crept out the door and down to where the girls were hiding. A couple of minutes later, Matt crept out the door and down to where the girls were hiding. Lila winced, doubling over. ARG, shit, my stomach hurts so bad now. Amy could feel it more now, like a stabbing pain beneath her stomach. Amy could feel it more now, like a stabbing pain beneath her stomach. Matt groaned, breathing into his hands to warm them up. 5 minutes passed, and they saw the silhouette of Tyler creeping down the steps and over to them. Amy felt a wave of relief wash over her. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Amy slid the key into the car door's lock, and a loud, wailing alarm blared from the truck. Its lights flashed, and the horn beeped. Fuck, Tyler yelled as the front door flew open. Abraham emerged in the doorway, holding a rifle. Looks like y'all didn't need the bathroom after all, he yelled before raising his rifle and firing a shot. It hit the car door, and the group took off running. The pain was worse than ever. Amy could see Lila slowing down, holding her stomach. Hurry, Matt yelled, pulling Lila by her arm. Crack, Lila went limp and hit the ground with a thud. They spun around and saw Lila face down in the dirt, unmoving. Holy fuck, Amy screamed. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. Matt grabbed her arm, and they took off running again. "He killed Lila," Tyler yelled. "That motherfucker, I'll kill him." Amy started to slow down. Her stomach felt like it was twisting in on itself. She noticed Matt dropping back as well. Another crack of the rifle went off. This time it hit a tree next to them. "Shit, shit, shit," Amy cursed. They kept running before Matt tripped on a tree root. Amy stopped and turned back to help him up. "ARG," he cried out, clutching his stomach. He threw up all over himself, a mixture of red and brown chunks spilling over his shirt. Amy gagged, putting an arm over her mouth before trying to pull him to his feet. Crack! Another shot rang out. Amy felt something splash her face. Matt screamed in pain. The bullet had hit him in the knee. Matt screamed in pain. The bullet had hit him in the knee. Amy looked around but couldn't see Tyler anywhere. "Please don't leave me here," Matthew begged, holding onto Amy's arm. Amy felt her stomach drop, and she felt the food surge back up through her throat and onto the ground. Her throat burned, and her vision doubled. Crack! This time the shot hit Matthew in the neck. Blood sprayed everywhere. Amy screamed as his body went limp. She dropped his arm and ran, tears streaming down her face. Her lungs burned, her stomach burned, and she could feel the cold making her hands go numb. She wanted to give up. She couldn't run anymore. She didn't even know where she would go. She stopped at a tree, hiding behind it. Her breaths came in short gasps. Her head was swimming. The pain in her stomach was so bad she couldn't get back up. Come out, wherever y'all are." Abram's voice was getting closer. Another shot rang out. She threw herself forward, desperately trying to crawl away. The sticks and rocks stung her cold hands. She heard movement behind her and rolled onto her back. Abraham stood next to the tree, the moon illuminating his silhouette. She couldn't see his face. He slung the rifle back over his shoulder. "Looks like I got me a live one." He chuckled. As he took a step forward, something leaped out from behind him. Thunk! He dropped to the ground, face smacking into the dirt. Behind him stood Tyler, holding a large rock. Amy almost passed out from the overwhelming feeling of relief. "Can you walk?" Tyler ran over and tried to lift her up. I don't know," she groaned, trying her best to stand. Her legs wobbled, and she nearly fell back down. Tyler grabbed the rifle, yanking it off Abraham. They hobbled back to the truck. "What about Matt and Lila?" Amy could feel tears burning her face again. "We will come back for them," he groaned, pulling her along. "We can't leave them," she cried. "We will come back for them," he spat. Amy could hear the fear and desperation in his voice. She could see the outline of Matt's and Lila's corpses and felt her stomach turn again. "Jesus, Amy," Tyler groaned. Once they reached the truck, Tyler reached into his pocket and pulled out the keys. He threw the rifle in the back. The truck door opened, and he jumped in, turning the key in the ignition. The car's blaring siren turned off, and the engine roared to life. In the headlights, they could see the two boys standing in the doorway of the house. Amy climbed into the passenger seat. She felt another searing wave of nausea wash over her. Tyler put the truck in gear and floored it. The wheels spun in the dirt, and the vehicle lurched forward. "The gate," Amy mumbled. Her vision doubled, and she felt like she would throw up again. As they drove, Amy noticed that Abraham's body was gone as the truck screamed past. "He's gone," she gasped. Tyler didn't say anything as the truck slammed into the gate. It flew off its hinges and bounced into the dirt. The back end of the truck fishtailed from the impact. The vehicle spun sideways and hit a tree. Everything went black. Amy opened her eyes. She coughed and could smell smoke all around her. She couldn't see anything, just heard a loud ringing noise and a soft hiss from the engine. Amy lifted her head and saw Tyler being dragged out of the truck, unconscious. She felt her vision fade and come back. She felt the door next to her open, and large hands dragged her out. Her vision dipped, and when it came back, she was lying on her back. She could see the stars above her. They looked so beautiful. Crack! The noise jolted her, and she felt her body react. She sat upright. Abraham and his two boys were standing over Tyler. Steam rose from the end of the rifle. She couldn't scream. She couldn't even move. She just watched Abraham step over Tyler and, with one sweeping motion, hit her in the head with the butt of his gun.